This is the Begin Within podcast, where we believe real, lasting health and fitness requires you to start inside before you work out. I'm your host, Nate Slegger, and I'm here to show you behind the scenes of fitness. You already know exercise is good for you, but what about all the other things in life that affect your fitness? If you're looking for extra motivation to get started or to make sure you keep going, this is the place for you.
Produced by BeginWithin.fit.
Improving health is about so much more than just losing weight. But I realize weight loss might be the goal that brought you here to the Begin Within podcast. That's why I wrote my latest book, 5 Ways to Stop Wrecking Weight Loss, to reveal the 5 areas that I see are most overlooked by the people that I work with who want to lose weight. Each one of the chapters in this free ebook describes that specific area that you need to focus on to improve your health and get great permanent results. And it also links back here to episodes of the podcast where we've had experts on the show talking about that specific area, so you can benefit from those previous episodes while you're learning about how to maximize the results that you're after. You can get your free copy of my ebook, 5 Ways to Stop Wrecking Weight Loss, by going to beginwithin.fit/ebook or going to the link in the show notes. Now is a great time to do a little multitasking while you're listening to the start of this episode. Head over to grab your free copy of my book, 5 Ways to Stop Wrecking Weight Loss. If you missed the URL, here it is again, beginwithin.fit/ebook, or there is a link in the show notes for you. Grab your copy, and now let's get on with today's episode. My guest today is Sean-Michael Doty. He is the director of TrAk Athletics, where he's trained Olympians, and he's here today to talk about optimizing a healthy life. I know you're going to enjoy our conversation. He is going to talk about 2 things that I really want you to listen closely for. Number one, we're going to use the word optimize quite a bit, but his concept on optimizing different areas of life is really interesting. So I want you to focus in as he talks about that. And also, we are going to talk about quality over quantity when it comes to optimizing areas of life. Quality. So as we talk about quality and structure, I really want your ears to perk up. Please listen carefully to that. That's something that's going to stick with you and may even shift the way that you think about the journey of health improvement. Here's my interview with Sean-Michael Doty.
I was a college pole vaulter, one of those crazy people that likes to go upside down and jump, 16, 17 feet and then crash down to the ground. And hopefully, the better you get at it, the longer you fall. So I was really into that, and I got fortunate where I went. My head coach was a 4-time Olympic hammer thrower. My strength conditioning coach was 3-time hammer thrower. My other decaf coach at one point was the U.S. indoor champ, and then one of our other friends ended up taking silver for the 100K. So I was just surrounded by these high-level athletes, and so I didn't think anything of it at the time, but once I started getting into the field of personal training, strength conditioning, I really kind of, started in that realm helping athletes. And so that moved me down a pathway where I eventually started working at a university where we had a couple of people, in the baseball team drafted to the MLB. We had other athletes in soccer that were going to play, in semi-pro leagues. And so I really just kind of kept that flowing and ended up with TrAk Athletics and Dave and Lauren, who Lauren at the time was training for Tokyo 2020, which became 2021. And so we were working with Team Canada and some of their athletes down here. And so I really flowed into, all of my background in exercise science and my, teaching at the university. So I'm really rooted in that side of training, like how can I make minor adaptations to someone who's spent years building up technique and form and everything to be the best at their craft. Especially when you've got a 4 year old, you're gonna take a cruise ship and turn it backwards instantaneously. Like this is something that we're gonna have to slowly progress over time to better form, to more athletic performance. And so really kind of got tied in with those Olympians, and that led me to again finding what was working for them in those small corrections as ways to also help just adult fitness in general, because it's not something where after 40 years of the same habits that got you to where you are, all of a sudden you're going to turn the ship tomorrow into something new. Like to build that lifestyle, it takes small course corrections over time to get people where they want to go.
Awesome. Wow. I like that. I like the way you explain that. And I think at first glance, it would seem like it's two different worlds, right? Olympic athletes, and then just like, and I count myself as, a regular guy, like regular guys like me, trying to improve, trying to be the healthiest version of ourselves, right? I guess that's a way that I like to think about it. So, other than that kind of overarching idea of making small course corrections, what are some of the other things that you've taken from working with these very, I would imagine, very ambitious athletes who will probably do whatever you tell them, and like then working with, like I said, like regular people, regular guys like me. What are there some other parallels or other lessons that you've learned that can help the general population?
Yeah, I would say that one of the things I always like hone in on is, the ability of these elite athletes to delay gratification, right? It's not that they don't want the same things as us, because, for you and I, right, that the Oreo temptation is still there. For them, the Oreo temptation is still there. This bright prize of dopamine flooding into the system. People really enjoy, snacks, whatever it may be when it comes to the nutrition side of things, that I think is probably just as hard as the training side of things as well. They have the ability to push that off in a way that requires discipline, requires willpower, but has been built up over time in efforts towards their goals. So they can reconnect, I think, with their reason, their why, like the importance of it so much more often, to be able to delay, the gratification on something. Whereas I think the more regular people I work with, they don't have this high goal that they can keep anchoring to. I think a lot of times we just want to live better, look better, feel better, move better as we go through life. And so there's 27,000 avenues for that. And we don't have this one anchoring image of what that looks like, which means we're pretty flexible, and that's great. But we don't sometimes do the things that pull us the most forward. We do whatever that day may hold for us. And then sometimes that leads us to, 6, 7 years down the road of making these random choices towards optimizing one way, the other way, the next way, to being like, oh, what happened to, my ability to move, my ability to do things, like to keep up with my kids, to be able to show up consistently unfatigued. Like I'm tired walking upstairs now. And why is that? Oh, because I chose to optimize maybe my social life more than my physical health. Maybe I chose to optimize towards, my career, and I neglected being able to physically stay fit while trying to maintain relationship with my family and work and everything else. And so I think for athletes, they have this one anchor that moves everything in the same direction, whereas we can be pulled in a lot of directions. But I think I've seen people that are parents, once they figure out how to set those structures in place and how to put a routine in place, that pull themselves physically forward just as quick as some of the high end athletes I've worked with once they set those structures in place.
Awesome. Wow. I like the way you said, we've just in some cases we've chosen to optimize in a different area of life. Right? Because I don't think we think of it. I don't anyway think of it in those terms, right? Because I mean, I'm always talking about health, improving health, right? Optimizing health, talk about that. But if you're optimizing a different area of life, or rather, I guess I should say, if the health area has been suffering, it probably always is that you've been optimizing something else, right? Is that kind of
Yeah.
what you found?
Yeah, I mean, so right, I think about the easy example, right? We all get very career focused at some point, right? Thinking either mid to late 20s, we start really focusing on, okay, how do I move up the company ladder? Or how do I, start my own business? Or how do I do X, Y, and Z? And I think we start making decisions, whether we think they're big or little, to be like, oh, you know what? I can go to the gym every other day right now because I need to put in another hour at work. And then as we optimize towards that, maybe we go, oh, my coping mechanism now becomes like, hey, I'm leaving work late. I'm just going to go out to dinner with someone. Not thinking that that's optimizing away from our health because we still all need to eat. Right. So then we start moving in that direction. And all of a sudden, like I said, 5 year spirals, and you go, wow, really moved up my career ladder and got to where I wanted to here, but physically I'm not feeling where I should. And fulfillment wise, right? Maybe we're not feeling 100% because we're not sleeping the way that we should. We're not eating the way that we should. We're not, moving as often as we should. And so now, as much as we've moved up the career ladder and given ourselves opportunities, now we've got to find another opportunity to get back in shape. And so we've optimized our schedule and routine, and really pushed it towards that. I can't remember if it was Aristotle's or Socrates or someone, and it's nature abhors a vacuum. Whenever we take something out of the routine, we're going to naturally fill it, right? Same things can be said. If a woods or a field burns down, weeds start filling it. So if we take it out to give space for our career, and then we pull it out again, something's going to fill it. What we choose to optimize towards or build towards becomes a thing. And we unwillingly or unknowingly, I guess is a better term, do that on a regular basis and fill it with something that's optimized towards what we think is currently important.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, and I feel like it almost does happen unless you're being intentional about it. Like you said, it's going to happen maybe without you fully maybe fully appreciating like what actually is going on, right? That um so I guess could we talk a little bit about just some of the tips or some of the things that you found help the general population to optimize for health, or just to keeping all this in mind, just to continue to sustain a healthy lifestyle even amidst all of this, maybe what seems to be confusing or sometimes frustrating when it comes to all these different areas of life?
Yeah. So I think, it's understanding that life is going to be a journey through all this. And there's going to be times when you 100% have to go all in at work. But the reality of that situation is you don't have to go all in 24/7, 365 on all things, right? It's been shown in I don't know how many studies now that productivity improves when you work out, exercise, eat right regularly. Like your sleep improves, which then improves your creativity. So you have more new ideas to bring to the next meeting or to the next project that you work on. And so I think we think of it as optimizing with time as opposed to quality, right? And so I think that's the thing that like helping people make that shift is, it's the quality of food that you choose. It's not necessarily, how often, thousands of that, but you want to make sure you're choosing better quality of food. When it comes to exercising, you want quality exercise, right? There's a lot of people January 1 that walk into, the nearest Planet Fitness or the nearest, Globo gym and go, okay, I'm going to work out, and you walk in, you hop on a treadmill, you hop on a bike, you wait 20 minutes, the piece of equipment you wanted isn't open. So then you just kind of diddle around, you pick up one thing, you do the next. So while you may be in there, the quality, the depth that you do in your exercise routine may not be there. So for us at TrAk, we really focus on how can I make sure there's a structure in place to walk everyone through, make sure that they get their workout within the hour so that it doesn't feel like you have to show up 2 hours, 6 days a week to get the results that you want, but to really just, structure routine. How do I warm up? How do I get myself prepped? how do I handle strength training and progressive overload and simplify all these big, processes that are important to your overall results, but put them in. And so really it comes down, I think, to routine and structure for a lot of people in terms of how they work out, whether that's, plan, a coach, or just finding a routine that they can settle into. I think once you start doing a habit, it's so easy to just be like, hey, at 6 a.m., this is what I do now. I don't say yes to things that happen at 6 a.m. because that's when I work out. So I don't, take an early morning meeting or a coffee with friends. I save that for my evening schedule. And so once you start to put that in place, it's so easy to be like, oh, that's a standing appointment, right? You have a standing leadership meeting on Wednesdays at 5:30. You probably haven't missed them except for the one vacation you take a year. Same thing if you have a standing appointment for your workouts, right? 6 a.m., 7 a.m., you're going to stay consistent with it. And so building the routine becomes the important concept. So,
Awesome. Good. Taking a ton of notes. I like it. That's great. Yeah, you see me. I'm over here, right, and I'm like, oh, that's good. This is good. This things that I want to remember to kind of include in the reminders that I have, after the interview here. So quality, and I love that concept, and I haven't heard that worded quite that way before. So thank you for that.
yeah.
That sometimes we think in terms of, and I want to make sure I'm hearing you right. We think in terms of optimizing time. Like time makes sense to our brains, but the reality is you can optimize quality and get a bigger return on your investment
Yeah.
for than the time that you spent on it. Is that right?
Yeah, 100%. And I always think of a few people, right? Tony Robbins' 4-hour work week. When you go deep on something, you can really emphasize what's important. And I think, we all have tasks throughout our day, but sometimes when we walk in the office, right, we're thinking in terms of we're here 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 or whatever the schedule may be for you. And then you go, oh, I need to work extra hard. Let me add 2 hours instead of let me sharpen the axe, as Abe Lincoln would say. If you were given 7 hours to chop down a tree, spend 6 of it sharpening the axe to the point that you know how to do it. And it's going to be a quick chop down as opposed to just hitting once, hitting twice, getting tired, fatigued. You want to sharpen that axe and deepen the quality of work that you put in on it. And so I always think, you know, if I really wanted to go deep here at work and move the needle on, the membership, I wouldn't sit there responding to emails 24/7. I wouldn't do that first. I would spend the first few hours really focused on what are the struggles for my clients right now? Like, where are they falling short and how can I help them close the gap to make that easier? So, as an individual myself, when I'm trying to make sure my workout routine's right, where I falter? Oh, I falter when I'm tired, fatigued, I don't have enough sleep, I haven't eaten right. So how do I optimize that? Well, I've got to close some of those gaps for myself. So I have to either hire a coach to write my training, or I've got to take a Sunday afternoon and write my training and do my meal prep and make sure that when I walk through the doors, even if there's fatigue, it's already put in place for me. It's already set. I already pre-cooked the meals. I don't have to think about, oh shoot, I'm hungry. It's 2 in the afternoon. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna run to fast food. No, it's in the fridge in my office right behind me here. It's stacked up. I've got it for days. I'm ready to go. I know exactly where I need to. So I take the thing that's gonna hold me back in the middle of the week and I make a place for it on Saturday or Sunday so that I know it's gonna be done because I have so much freedom on those days to choose, my flexibility, my time, and put something in place for an hour or two. I think that works
Nice.
for most people thinking through the Sunday meal prep or the Sunday workout writing. Most of the time, it's in between binges of episodes of Netflix, but
Yeah.
that's all right. We can take those little breaks and get ourselves set for success the next week.
Nice. Yeah, and I've heard, time management gurus or whatever, that say like you got to spend your time today on the things that are going to give you more time tomorrow. Like that's the best way to do it. And I think as I think through that filter, listening to what you're saying is um spend spend time today on the things that will improve quality of life tomorrow? What's gonna help you to be your best tomorrow? What can you do today that's gonna support you to be better tomorrow? Um, is that right?
Yeah, I think that's for me, that's at least what I optimize towards is, right, what are the things that are going to, I'm going to be a better person. We all know when we're hungry or hangry, as most people call it nowadays, right? That's not our best version of ourselves. When we're tired, it's not the best quality of stuff that's going to get put out. I'm just going to
Yeah.
make it through the day. So if I can do things that ensure that when I show up to the moments at work, right, not necessarily knowing what's going to happen because you don't know every single day, right? I can still present my best self, my most creative self, my ideas driven self, my self that I would want to be in terms of making sure I get to the workout and doing that. I want to make sure that I have every advantage coming into that situation as opposed to being behind the eight ball and just wondering, like, how am I going to get through this today? I want to kind of give myself the opportunity to have a better quality of life by being a better quality of myself each and every day that I can.
Nice. I like that. That's awesome. Um, what's the best way? Actually, you know what? Before I ask you that, I wanted to ask you this. For the average or the general population, right? I'm trying not to be too hard on us, just regular guys, right? We're not Olympians. Um, let's say somebody's listening, they're like, I gotta get this ball rolling. Like right now, I'm not optimizing life the way that I'd like. What would you recommend is the best way for them to begin?
Yeah, I think there's two ways. One is don't set yourself up for failure with these big, audacious, like, I'm going to lose 50 pounds in the next 50 days goals, things that sound super catchy, or, 20 pounds in the next month. I think you want to set yourself on the journey of habit, right? So, hey, I want to work out 3 days next week, right? And again, at the beginning, this may look like those days at Planet Fitness where you only get 20 minutes, you only get on two pieces of equipment, you don't know what you're doing. But if you're getting the ball rolling, you need to commit to the process of it. And so I think the results will come once it becomes a lifestyle. I don't think results come based off if you choose X guru, Y guru, it comes based off your consistency and your input. So to choose 3 days as your success, I think most people could find 30 minutes, 3 days to start and not even see it as an issue, right? So they'll start the process, get those 3 days, boom, that's a win. What that does is start building your self confidence and self esteem, and it doesn't make it so against you that you're fighting. And so then you kind of smooth over what is a hard process to begin with if you haven't done it for years. And then you increase that expectation. Okay, now we'll do 3 days, we'll do 40 minutes at the gym. Now we'll do 50, now we'll do 60, now we'll do a fourth day, now we'll do 5 days. Now we'll get into a training regimen for strength. I'm going to focus on building X. And then you just start adding layers over time as opposed to, again, trying to be like this all or none principle I see so often come Jan 1. All right, I'm done with this. I'm done with that. I'm done with 1,000 things. And then by January 20th, I see half
Yeah.
the people that did that on their own come in and reach out to us for help because it's not working for them to do that. They're trying to, again, take a cruise ship and turn it backwards instantaneously. And there's a lot of resistance because you've built structures and systems, whether you know it or not, to keep your life exactly where it's at right now. And so you're fighting against that. So make it smooth for yourself, make it simple. Start with very manageable. I'm 100% confident I can do that this week. And then make it, I'm 90% confident I can do it this next week by adding a next layer, and keep it at that 80 or 90% so that you challenge yourself enough, but you don't get overwhelmed by what you're trying to add.
Awesome. Nice. I like that. I like something you said there, set yourself on the journey of habit.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think
Yeah.
habits are key to this whole process of fitness and health and optimizing your life when you've got other commitments, right?
Yeah.
We're not, as we're not 18 to 20-year olds that have the freedom of all of our time. We do have other avenues we want to see success in life and career and family and friends and relationships. And there's so many things that do pull us in different directions that if you layer out the habits that it's part of it, that habit then becomes part of your identity, and that starts to become part of an easy transition of non-negotiables in your life that you put in there.
Love it. Yeah, totally agree. Great. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you, follow your work, benefit from what you're doing?
Yeah, I would say follow us on Instagram at TrAk Athletics. You can follow us at our blog on trakathletics.com. And then myself, you can follow me at Coach Sean-Michael 421 on Instagram too. I think that's the vast majority of where we spend it. I spend very minimal time outside of those avenues, showcasing what we do here, because I find it's really effective to get the visuals and to get the message, but not have to spend 62 hours watching a podcast that's 5 hours long and then going and watching a YouTube video of us and then going. We try to keep it all condensed into one spot for everyone.
Okay, awesome. So TrAk, TrAk, right? TrAk
Yeah.
Athletics. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Sean-Michael Doty, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, Nate. This was an awesome thing, and I hope this helps people out in getting started on their journey and optimizing a little bit more towards their health.
All right. Links to connect with Sean-Michael Doty and his company as well are in the show notes, waiting for you. That was a cool conversation, wasn't it? In particular, I think the thing that's going to stay with me is the idea of optimizing different areas of life. Remember how we talked about that? How maybe health isn't optimized the way that you'd like it to be, but more than likely, a different area of life has been getting attention and has been being optimized. If one area is suffering, there's probably another area where we've been focusing. And maybe we've been doing that without a lot of intention or without perhaps fully realizing the impact that our optimizing for that area is having on other areas of life, such as our health. I thought that was so interesting to think about that a little bit because we sometimes just think, well, I'm just going to keep doing life the way that I've been doing it, but I'm going to also start focusing on my health. We have to realize that there's going to be some shifts and adjustments that are going to be necessary, right? If we're going to focus on one area, that means we can't focus the way that we were. We can't give the same time and attention to something else that we had been previously. It should go without saying, but sometimes it's a concept that's hard to wrap our heads around when it comes to this health journey. And if we can fully respect the principle there, it can help us to be a lot more successful as we move forward in this health journey. I also really appreciated the idea of quality as opposed to quantity, because sometimes and so many times, really often, when it comes to like, I want to give attention to this area, I want to give attention to health and wellness, all of a sudden we just think that it's going to just take time. And we might think that we have to take that time from somewhere else. But really, if we have this idea of optimizing, we're not just looking at quantity of our focus, maybe in terms of time, but we're also looking at quality. And when we start to make better decisions about the path forward, we may often find that a focus on better quality doesn't demand the same amount of time that we thought it would. And we've talked about this before on the show, but especially when it comes to things like fitness, exercise, for example, it improves our cognitive ability after we've exercised. The rest of the day, I think, research that I've read is a 14% improvement in cognitive ability after you've worked out that day. So as a result, we end up being better. We end up showing up better. We end up working better. We end up performing better. So it takes less time. And if something really is a healthy choice, right? Especially when we look at, decisions when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to rest, when it comes to exercise, things that we may readily accept are part of a healthy lifestyle. When those things are added in, I think they should always be an investment. They should always give us a bigger return than the amount of time and energy it took for us to do the nutrition or to get the rest or to do the workout. It should always give us more back than we put in, because if it doesn't, why would we keep doing it, right? And oftentimes that's probably the reason that we give up, is because we've chosen a path that maybe isn't as optimized as it could be. And so, to Sean-Michael's point during our interview, you can get some support, get somebody to help to save you from the learning curve or the disappointment of realizing that the path that you chose isn't that optimized. Get a coach, get some help, get some support. Of course, that's what we do as well in a virtual way. But reach out to an expert, reach out to someone that you want to connect with, someone that you resonate with, to get that support so that you can make sure that your path forward in this health journey is as optimized as it possibly can be. Someone that can help you have realistic expectations and can help to guide you along the way. It's one option, right? One option, one way to optimize this area of life, this area of health and wellness. If you really enjoyed this topic, you really enjoyed this discussion, here's a couple other episodes that I would love for you to check out. You could go back to episode number 56. I talked to Mark Hildebrand there. The title of that show was Going from Rock Bottom to Mastering Your Mindset. That's episode 56. 68 was also another good one with Linnell Beckles, How to Be Lazy and Get Better Results. Talked about optimization there. And you could also check out number 76 with Jared Scray, How to Cultivate the Ultra Mindset. I think you'll enjoy those if you want to continue to listen in on this area, the topic of kind of optimizing your path forward with health and fitness. I want to thank you so much for listening in. I would love for you to take a screenshot of yourself listening, post it to your stories, tag me, or just a snapshot of wherever you're at as you're listening, and do the same thing. Post it to stories, tag me. I'd love to start a conversation with you around this topic of optimizing our healthy lifestyle. Thanks again. I will talk with you again soon. Please continue to take good care of yourself. Have a wonderful day.